podcast. I am so excited to have you here. Now, I'm going to dive straight in. You are an American in the UK.
Yep.
What's the differences? What are you seeing that you're just like, this is so different to home?
Oh gosh, there's so many things. So I'm an American. I live in the UK. I'm married to a Brit, and we got married in America.
Oh,
Um,
where in America?
in New York, we got married in the boathouse in Central Park.
Oh,
Yeah,
hold
it's
on, let's just
amazing.
drop that one in there because I think we all know, we've all seen that on movies, right?
Yes, yeah, yeah. Well, to be fair, I just to put that out there, I worked there for 5 years before I moved to the UK. And when we were searching for weddings, we were looking at various places in New York, and I just kept coming back to what's going to be the most amazing day? What do I know works best? What do I know is going to be amazing on the outside, no matter what's going on the inside? And I just thought, what a beautiful venue. We have loads of Brits coming over to join. What can we show them that's going to be spectacular? And it was absolutely incredible. But there was a couple funny things that were different between American weddings and British weddings, which I didn't know as much at the time because going back about 12 years now. But Americans love to dance and they love to dance really early. So
Oh,
they
oh
don't
yeah, no,
wait till the end.
yes, no, that's not the Brits.
No, I learned that. So some of our British friends are like, "What? Why are we dancing already? I haven't had enough to drink yet. Like, what's going on here? We haven't even had any main courses yet."
I
So
love it.
that was quite funny to listen to that side of things because the Brits just had no idea that people were getting up and dancing. I mean, straight off the bat,
Yeah.
you know, in American tradition, as far as I knew, the couple comes into the room, they get introduced, they go straight into their first dance, and the music gets everyone onto the dance
Yeah.
floor at that time. And all the British folk were sitting around going, "Are we
What's
supposed to be
going on?
dancing already? What's
You
what's
know
happening
what?
here?"
I did exactly that at my wedding as well. And the reason is because I did a lot of Jewish weddings when I worked in London, and the Jewish format is very much like that. Like we
Yes,
start the dance
yes,
early, it's in between courses,
yes.
and I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was like,
yeah, yeah.
why do we have to wait till everybody's had 14 glasses of wine and now they're gonna
Yeah,
like shake a little?
exactly. Yeah.
And it's so much more fun. And yeah, people are a bit like, oh, what's going on? But they got into it. Did your
Yes.
wedding
Oh, they all
get
got
into
into it. They
it?
all loved it. They were like, "This is great." But they were so taken aback at first, going, "Are we supposed to be getting up at this point?" So it was quite funny to listen to that.
And what do
And
you see like working with couples? So you worked with your couples in the US, you worked
yeah,
with couples, or you work now with couples in the
yeah,
UK.
yeah.
What do you see as a difference in the way they research their venue or the way they choose or plan? What do you see?
I think Americans in particular are a little bit more about the day and the event, and it's quite a big production.
Yeah.
Everything's a bit bigger in America sometimes, as we all know. Whereas in the UK, I find sometimes, not always, of course, but some of the couples are a lot more subtle about things, and it's a lot more maybe some personal touches and quiet moments for them. Whereas in America, the Americans love the party, they love the big showcase of it all. So I think that was probably one of the some of the big things that I see. And we often work mainly with Brits where I am, but we often will get an American couple, or at least the groom or the bride is American, and they don't know the lingo, they don't know the traditions, they don't know how things typically run. So it's been fun trying to for me to learn the different language.
Yeah, because
So I don't
there's
want to feel like I'm
nuances, right? There's
yeah,
huge nuances because I started my career in destination weddings in the Caribbean, which was a lot of American couples. And then
yeah.
when I came to the UK, even buttonhole and boutonniere was
Yes, yes, yes,
like
yeah.
if you say the wrong word to the wrong couple, they're going,
Yes,
huh? What are you talking about?
exactly, exactly. I was on a Zoom call with a couple who the groom was American and the bride was British, and she was talking about buttonholes, and he goes, I don't know what you guys are talking about. And I said, "It's the boutonniere." "Oh, right, okay, okay."
Yeah.
And starter and appetizer and canapes and hors d'oeuvres, and there's just wedding breakfast. What wedding breakfast term doesn't exist in America, so we
And
don't
I actually think
it's the
that today's
meal.
modern couples in the UK don't use that term very often. Do you see that?
No, I still find a lot of people who go, "Why are they called the wedding breakfast? What are
Yeah.
we eating?"
Yeah. Yeah, and it's so often I'll say something just like dinner, just because otherwise I
Yes,
don't want to make people feel awkward
yes,
because
yes,
then they
yeah.
go, sorry, you're talking about the Sunday morning, the day after?
Yeah,
And you're like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, I thought you were talking about the day after. No, no, still on the wedding day. Yeah,
yeah, but there's these
exactly.
weird terminologies, right?
Yes,
And do
yes,
you think
yes.
the way that couples plan is different? Do they have a different style?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think I think similarities are, find the venue, find the suppliers. But
Yeah.
I find from my experience in the States, I mean, it's been quite a while now, but very much about the party. It's about the music. It's about the dancing. It's about, you know, the food. There's always so much food at, the what we refer to it as the cocktail hour, which is straight after the ceremony, prior to when you sit down for dinner. And the amount of food at a cocktail hour in the States is almost as big as a meal. So I think focus on food and party, whereas in England, I find that there's a lot of detail around the suppliers, around the florist, around the cake, where it didn't feel as so much planning and processing when I was doing weddings in the States. So I guess that would probably be the biggest difference. And it's all very similar in a
Yeah.
way,
No.
but probably if I had to pick something, that would be it.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Now you've mentioned that, and I'd forgotten how much food we used to do in the
Yes.
reception between ceremony and dinner when I was
Yep.
sitting with those American couples on the beach. Sometimes it was almost a mini buffet
Yes. Yeah.
before
Yeah.
dinner. Whereas now, especially in the UK with costs going up, sometimes
Yep.
guests won't eat or couples won't even have canapes, right? Like
No.
because the budget doesn't stretch, and we go, well, you know what, we're going to feed them in a minute anyway. So,
Yes.
and so that
Yes.
is a huge difference.
Yes, yes. I
Amazing.
remember at our wedding, we obviously had the Brits over, and during the reception, there was carving stations of I think it was beef and chicken and loads of other food items, and they were all walking around going, "Wow, this is great! This is such good food." And then we moved inside the room, and they went, "There's more food? That wasn't dinner?" I was like, "Oh no, we've got three courses coming now."
And how on earth are we supposed to dance with that much food in our belly?
That's why you go up in between, so you work it all off.
Okay, so tell us about the venue you're at now, because I know this venue.
Yes.
For our listeners, where are you working now with those lovely couples?
So I'm in Kent at an animal reserve called Port Hotel and Reserve,
Now,
and
this
we
is such a hidden secret in the UK. When
yes
I tell people that my husband and I went there for our baby moon, which is like 8 years ago,
yes yeah
and how
yeah yeah
cool it is, and like the safari vibe in the UK, people have often never even heard of you. You're like a real hidden gem.
yes yes, which is not good. I need to make sure that everyone starts to learn about us a bit more. But I do
So
still
tell
like
us
to be
more
a
about
hidden
what it
gem.
is. Tell us more
Yeah,
about what it
yeah.
is and how that fits in with weddings.
So we are a 600-acre reserve located, like I said, in Kent. We have accommodation. We're a tourist attraction, so a day visit. You can come, go on safari, walk around. We have loads of wild and endangered animals. We work with the Aspinall Foundation, where our aim is to try to rehome animals back into the wild. So it's got this nice conservation aspect to it. And in addition to all of that, we also have private spaces where you can host your wedding day. The most exciting thing about the wedding day is that you can add a safari onto your day. So you get to show your guests where they are and what they
So
can see
cool.
when they come on site. So it's an added excursion as part of your day. It's sort of that engagement where you're giving your guests something as well. So it's not just, going to a wedding space. You also have this activity taking place at the same time.
I love that. And in your many years planning events and weddings, you must have had a few near misses, a few disasters. We've all had them, right? Now, I don't want you to incriminate yourself,
No,
but
of
can you
course.
share any with us?
Gosh, so a couple things that have occurred. I think the biggest thing that comes to mind is a lot of these couples very kindly do menu cards for their guests for the day so that people can remember what maybe they might have ordered. And where possible, we always try to grab a copy of that menu card in advance just to make sure there's no
It
mishaps.
lines up.
Sometimes the couples don't tell us they have a menu card, and we find one in their little pack when we start taking out all their items to set up for the day. And one circumstance, we open up the menu card. Oh, I didn't know they had menu cards. Reading the menu, I'm looking at it, I'm going, well, that looks a little bit different from what I recall.
Oh, no.
And the menu choice was incorrect from what was on their menu card versus what our kitchen was about to produce. And
Ouch.
absolute chaos ensues, and thinking, what can we do? What can we do? What can we do? And have to say, I think we managed it as well as we could have. First port of call, head to the kitchen, see what we can do. Is there anything that we can do at this late stage,
There's
at
so
this
much prep,
particular?
as you and I know.
Yes,
When you're
days.
doing 100, 150, 200 plates, the chefs are prepping things way in advance,
Yes,
And so
yes.
for most people who don't work in hospitality, they'd be like, oh, it's fine, we can just change the order. But it just isn't like that, right?
No, no.
And everything
Can't you just whip that up?
no,
No.
not 150 plates of something different,
Exactly.
right? And
Exactly.
how did
Exactly.
the couple printed the wrong thing? Or where was was there a breakdown in communication?
There was a bit of breakdown in communication in regards to the menu tasting, what they had spoken to with the chef. They had received a copy of the event sheet, so all was on in
Yeah,
writing. So
yeah.
it was hey, did everything look okay on the event sheet? Yep, everything looked great. Chef hadn't really translated over to us. So there was a whole big crossover amongst probably three or four different parties that didn't get that right.
Yeah. And
So
I
a bit
always
of
say,
everyone.
like you did there with your event sheet, sometimes we call them BEOs, function sheets, whatever
Yes,
we
yes,
call
yes.
them in our respective venues. I always say when I'm training a kind of new coordinator, have your couple read it and sign it because these things happen, right? And if
Yes.
you don't make a couple sign it, I feel like they go, yeah, it's fine.
Yes.
And
Yes.
if I have to put my name on it, okay, let me just check.
I'm going to
Right?
read it.
I'm gonna read it. And do you know the amount of venues that I work with, or when I start working with them, that don't even show that sheet to the couple?
Yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
even show them, let alone
Yeah.
get them to sign it. And I'm like, but you won't realize how necessary that is
Yes.
until you have a problem.
Yes. Yeah. And then all of a sudden it's going, well, you've done something wrong. And I'm like, well, wait a second.
Yeah.
It was on this sheet. And we never want to point fingers. We never want to,
No.
say that somebody's to
No, it's
blame
a
in
safety
particular.
net.
It's just one of those situations where we want to make sure that they're happy. It's
Of course.
their day. It's their money. You're as responsible because you want to make sure it runs perfectly as much as we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what else have you seen? What else has been a little bit like crazy, or maybe you've had some requests that you thought, oof, how am I going to manage this one?
Well, I think one of the things that we have sometimes is either an aunt or an uncle who steps in on the wedding day and thinks that they're in charge and asking for various things. And if you can't produce, all of a sudden, we're the bad guy. A particular brand of liquor or a certain structure in the timing, or they want to throw a spanner in somewhere and they think, well, you're not being very flexible. Like, this isn't your day. You're not even a parent. Like, it's let alone the parents we have to deal with sometimes. People always ask, oh gosh, working in weddings must be really interesting. You probably get a lot of bridezillas. And I said, actually, not at all. The worst are the parents, the moms, the dads. They all have an opinion. They all have something to say. And of course, it's a family affair. We get it. You want to be involved and that's absolutely fine. But it's really interesting sometimes when a parent has more to say than the couple. And I think, why isn't the couple saying anything right now? But
It shows a family dynamic though, right?
yeah,
It
yes,
often, I used to see it a lot when I was doing the really high spend weddings and the parents were paying. So the control was simply
yes,
in their hands,
yes,
and
yes,
the couple often almost couldn't say what they
yes,
wanted
yeah,
because
yeah,
somebody else is paying the bill. But
yes,
often now, certainly the middle of the road budgets, the couples are paying themselves. But that just shows me like a family dynamic where they feel they
yes,
have to do
yeah,
or
yeah,
please their parents, and
yes,
it's awkward, right? Because we end up
yes.
being in the middle
Yeah,
and trying
yeah.
to keep
And or you're
everybody
sitting in that
happy.
meeting and you're going, who am I supposed to listen to here?
It's
Yeah.
so true.
We
And
find that it helps picking up after with the couple. Let them have that chat in the meeting. We'll try to be as civil as possible, making sure that every party's happy by the time they leave. But when we next chat with the couple, it's kind of saying, look, just a reminder, it's your wedding, we want you to be happy. Are you okay with all the things that were discussed? And just sort of having that separate reach out to them, because it can be quite the dynamic when you're in that final meeting, having that last minute chat about everything, and mom or dad or stepmom or stepdad are sort of chiming in with their opinion of how it should be. Or when they got married
Mm,
25 years ago, we
yeah.
did this, and not realizing things have changed over the years and it's not always the same format as it used to be.
Yeah, it's so true. What do you think couples are kind of getting wrong as they're planning, or what are they stressing about that they really don't need to, that's actually kind of ruining their day for them?
I think one of the things that we find, and rightly so, these couples want the most perfect day, whether it's Instagram worthy or photograph worthy, or just even, of course, entertaining your guests. You just want to have the most perfect day, and that's always our aim, is to provide that. But I think what people get hung up on is making it so perfect. Every minute little detail has to be to the T. And it's a wedding. There's so many factors going in. You've got stuff with the bride, stuff with the groom, bridesmaids, groomsmen, parents, aunts, uncles, family. So many running elements to each and every wedding. You can't possibly make it picture perfect.
Well, there
Aside
is
from
no
a
such
few
thing as
things here or there.
perfection, right? Like there actually,
Yeah.
I'm not sure perfection in anything
Yeah.
actually exists. Like that,
Yeah.
it just doesn't. And yet I mean, I think we're as guilty in the industry of selling this dream to couples, like everything's perfect. Like
Look
even
how
at work.
perfect your wedding can be.
Yeah.
Yes,
And then we
yes.
go, oh, but now can you just chill a bit?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
it's a real tough one with social media, selling this whole perfection dream and all that
Yes,
language around the marketing, that we're
yes,
kind of
yeah, yeah.
building them up to go panic.
Yes,
Like
yes.
what have you seen couples stress about that you're just having to like take control of?
I think, one in particular that stood out is we were chatting with a couple, and they were very hung up about how much people were drinking,
They
and
didn't want people to drink too much, or they wanted to be like free pour. What
they
was
did
their
not want people to drink too much. So in the meeting, we're discussing, what's happening during dinner service, and wine's included, this, that, and the other. And they said, could you just make sure that each glass is only a quarter full every time you're filling a glass? And I thought to myself, how do I approach this? How do I approach this? And I said, look, we can do as best as we can, but you are going to have guests who are going to ask for more wine. We have to oblige. It's also our venue. We have something to showcase as well. We don't want to seem like we're not,
This
fulfilling
is the
guests'
problem when
requests.
couples make decisions, it often reflects badly on the venue. And we're
That's
just
it.
doing, what couples
Yeah.
fast, and then we're the ones who get criticized for it. It's tricky,
Yes,
right?
exactly, exactly. But I think it's those little details. If they weren't so hung up on how much wine was being poured at a particular point in the day, maybe they would have enjoyed the day a bit more. I mean, they did in the end.
Of
We
course.
got through that. We had a chat about it. It was all fine. But it was one of those things where I thought to myself, you're trying to make every little thing totally on point. And if you just relax and sit back and just enjoy the day, soak it all in, when are you going to get all of your friends and family from both sides together celebrating you? It is just such a fantastic experience, a wedding day, to have all those things happening. Don't get hung up on the little details. And I know people hear this all the time, and people say, well, what am I not supposed to get hung up on? And what am I not supposed to stress about? And it will be stressful. There's going to be stressful points to the day. It's a whole big event. It's a lot of money being
Yeah.
spent. You have a lot of people traveling, coming together, but rightly so. But at the same time, don't sweat the small stuff. On my wedding day, we had a bus picking people up from A to B, and the bus never showed up. Nobody told me, by the way, which I
No,
was
perfect. Don't
so
tell the
happy about.
bride.
Didn't find out until about 2 days later, and somebody mentioned it. But they managed it. They figured it out. They called taxis. Guests are adults. They can figure things out. They don't need to rely on the couple to make the things happen. And everyone had a fantastic time. That at the end of the day, that's all you want, is for people to leave your wedding going, that was a good party. That was a lot of fun. Not, I didn't get enough wine because the server wouldn't pour it for me, or whatever people are sort of hung up on. But I think it's this picture perfect aspect when weddings are just supposed to be fun. They're not supposed to be in lines. It's not an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
It's
But we
free
tried
flow.
to make it that way, right? And
Well,
our
the planning is in the Excel spreadsheet, but not the wedding day itself.
But talking of drinking and then wanting to control the alcohol, which I can imagine there was reasons for that. Like maybe there was an Uncle Bob who always drinks too much and causes a scene
Well,
or,
that
something
always
like that.
happens.
I was going to say, have you had to deal with much of that? Because obviously there is often a lot of alcohol at these events and it can create a problem, right? And don't
Yeah,
get me wrong, I love a glass of Chardonnay, so I'm not anti-alcohol at weddings.
of course.
But have you had to deal with anything like that?
Always. I mean, I want to say almost nearly every wedding, but not in a negative way. I mean, obviously, a lot of people just really enjoy themselves, but I think sometimes you might get an auntie or an uncle who just goes a little bit too far sometimes, and they kind of get a little over the top. They're really enjoying themselves, which is great, but there have been a few occasions where we've had to well, cut someone off to start, which is always unpleasant to do. But then I think the thing is you end up sitting outside with them and trying to give them a bit of water, and they're talking about who knows what, and you just get in this situation. You think, why have you done this? Why have you gone so far? And that you're not even enjoying the day. But there are some fun moments. There are some funny moments where people just get a little too wacky. You see the videos of them on the
What have
dance
they done?
floor
Spill the beans.
afterwards.
What
Oh,
have you seen people
it's
do?
that dancing. It's the dancing once that DJ kicks in. You think, my gosh, how much have they had to drink? But it does provide us good entertainment when we get to see the videos afterwards
That's true.
because it's always a good laugh.
And Steph, how did you get into weddings and events? Like, what's your story here?
Oh gosh, I always wanted to uh, get into sort of an events role. I didn't really know where I was going. I was in university, in the States, and I, you know, thought about different things. Where do I want to go? What do I want to do? And I moved into a communications major in school, and I took these event management courses, not really knowing what they were about. And I really enjoyed them. And we got sent into New York City a couple times to head over to various event spaces to see operations and how things run and the planning process. And I started to really like it. My first job was an admin in a sales office at a venue in New York, which is a place I always knew I wanted to work. And once I got into that office, just doing admin, payroll and scheduling and all the little bitty things, I started to put my hand up saying, "Hey, do you mind if I stick around for that event tonight? I'd really like to see how it goes. And hey, can I stick around for that wedding? Because I'd really like to see how that runs. I haven't seen a wedding yet." And I just started staying and sticking around, and within a very short period of time, I was able to take on some of my own events operationally.
Okay.
And then I did operations for many years and then eventually moved into a sales role. Again, got into an admin position in a sales office. Really enjoyed seeing sort of that planning process, what goes on, in the nurturing aspect with these clients and meeting couples and corporate events and leisure groups and whatnot. And then again, same thing, said, can I pick up that event? Do you mind if I take that really small birthday party that's coming in and then slowly made my way into a sales manager. I had an amazing boss at the boathouse where I said I worked for many years, who taught me tons, pretty much, which helped me, kind of go forward. And once I left New York, I then came to the UK. It was very difficult to get a job because
Why did you move? What was it for your husband or
yeah,
what was the move?
yeah. So my husband's British. We met both while traveling abroad and did the back and forth for a little while, and then I decided to make the move over here
Okay.
and moved to London. Was there for about 10 years. But when I first moved, well, first I had to swap my resume for my CV.
Yeah. It's like a whole nother language.
It really was. It really was. And then trying to find jobs was actually quite difficult because nobody knew the venues I had worked at in New York. And even though those were really high-end
Oh,
luxury venues and, of course, quite famous in the States, nobody in the UK, of course, knew what they were. And I got really lucky that I found someone who knew New York, knew the venues I had worked at, and was very kind to give me a chance. And then once you get your foot in the door,
Then
because
you're
that's
away.
all it takes.
Yes.
Then I just kind of went on from there, and I've worked at various locations in London, and now I've been at Portland for 4 years, which has been amazing. I can say that I had never worked at an animal reserve before, so now I can sort of check that off my list, and it's been quite good.
I mean, they do say that you shouldn't work with kids and animals, right? Like, how is that working out for you?
Well, sometimes the guests seem like the animals and not the actual animals. So, it's a like for like, really. But yeah, it's
Have you got any stories, anything memorable from the last few years to do with the animals at the events?
well, luckily, everyone's quite respectful of the animals. Thank goodness for that, because the last thing we want is for anything to happen, obviously, to the animals.
Of
I
course.
think the biggest hurdle, which rightly so, and most couples ask this question, can the guests bring drinks onto the safari? But they can't.
It's just terrible. It's just all about the drinking, isn't
I
it?
know. Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I get it. You're in a flow, you're having a good time, you're enjoying yourself, and then we kind of put in a little break, which I think is actually quite good for the
Yeah.
day because it just
Yeah.
breaks things up a tiny little bit. But yeah, that is a common question. So the answer is no, unfortunately. But when the trucks are out on safari, you're not really in contact. You can't really touch the animals. Sometimes the camels come up close, but the keepers are quite informative, and they let everyone know to be respectful. But something exciting that can happen on wedding days is a couple can go and feed an animal on a wedding day. So
Oh,
you can sort of incorporate that aspect to it. It's logistically something we have to work out in terms of timings, but if you really want to make your wedding day really special, you can actually go and feed an animal on the day in your dress or whatever it is you've chosen to wear that day, and that's some really memorable photos.
I was gonna say that's pretty cool for the photography, right?
Yes, yes, yeah, 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 yeah.
And has there been a time, a day, a moment through your career where you've just thought, I don't want to do this anymore? Like today, I am done.
Um, Well, gosh, I've been doing it for so long now. I'm sure there's been days, but then at the same time, I just really love it. Like I love meeting people. I love, seeing what their plans are. The couples that I've worked with specifically at Portland are so completely different. Not
Mm,
one couple is the same. And that's something always that fascinates me because we're an animal reserve. So you think
yeah.
you'd get a similar type of person who might get married because
Yeah.
of what we are. But they are so totally different. And it's so interesting to meet people and to understand their background, to get to know them, to understand their journey, how they met. So I think I just love that aspect of it. I love the thrill of, when somebody finally says yes to booking. It's almost like say yes to the dress, say yes to the venue. And for me, I love it. I feel like, we've made someone happy because they really want this particular venue, and I just get a buzz when we get some bookings and when somebody says yes, and even same thing with corporate and other things. But I think that's what keeps me going. I just
And
I just love that thrill of winning a piece of business.
and you lead the team there?
Yeah, so there's five of us, including myself, and three of which are involved with the weddings, and then we have somebody in corporate. But yeah, the weddings take a lot of work, and there's definitely certainly days where I think, yeah, I'm a little bit tired. But at the same time, you come back in, something good happens that day, you get a nice piece of feedback from a wedding couple, you get their pictures, and you relive their day over again. So I think it's just things like that I really enjoy. And to be honest, I don't know if I could do anything else. I'm
I was
just
just
so
going
used to
to
doing
ask
this.
you, in a different universe, in a sliding doors parallel universe, what would you have done if it wasn't events and weddings?
Gosh, I do love like baking. So I think if I ever really wanted to totally swap jobs, I'd maybe want to go into, I don't know, pastry or kitchens but I think that's a totally other planet that might happen.
Okay, so we're not going to expect to see you on Bake Off anytime soon.
No, no,
No,
I'm not that good. I'm not that good. I might think I'm that good, but I'm not that good.
I love that. You mentioned there that you had a really great manager, and that's amazing. And I think for all of us, we've got like one or two people who
Yeah.
help shape us a little bit. Have you ever had a difficult or bad manager that
Yeah.
actually learned things from, even though they didn't show you the way? What happened there?
I think when you have someone who is not there for you or there to help you or guide you or help teach you, I think is really detrimental to a person's career.
Yeah.
That person can really make you not enjoy your job or make things a lot more difficult than they need to be. I could say probably I've had maybe two people who I've worked with in my career that have not been very, I mean, it's sort of toxic in their behavior is the
Yeah.
best way to describe it. And it does make the job a little bit harder. Um,
And what sort of things would they do or say? Because I think often, especially in hospitality, this kind of conversation is kept a lid on.
yeah,
Because in hospitality, we often just work hard. We're used to just being asked to do a gazillion hours a day, put
yeah,
up with all the crap, if you will. And I see now things are starting to change a little from, we're a bit longer in the tooth these days, right? And I
yeah,
see that there's a little bit more conscientiousness around this. But what kind
yeah.
of things were you seeing and hearing that might resonate with some of our listeners?
I think it's someone that just doesn't really have your back, when you're going through something or having an issue with maybe somebody within the company or even sometimes something at home, but it's someone that's sort of like get on with it and not really listening or helping guide. A circumstance occurs at work and you think I could use someone else's ear or I can't really resolve this on my own. I need some assistance. And you go to that person, you say, look, this has happened. What do you think? And they said, well, can't you just sort it out? Like that type of response. And you think, well, that's why I'm coming to you. I've come to you for that reason. And they just don't really support you. And I think, in the two times that I've been in that situation, well, both times I left
Yeah.
because it was just not an environment I wanted to be in, and I didn't see any change. Even if you tried to speak to other people, or even if you sort of went above, it just culturally wasn't making any changes. So it just wasn't a right fit. Moved on, and now in better places.
And what did you learn about managing team or about helping develop others from that negative experience? Like, how did you flip that?
To be as supportive as I can be. I really want anyone I work with, I want to be able to grow. I want to teach people the way I was taught in my last role in New York, and how kind my boss was at the time. He was really, he had no problem teaching me, telling me, this is why we do this. I do that because of this. Just telling me, even if it's on repeat or hearing the same thing over and over again, because it just goes in like that and it sits. But for me, and I hope my team would say the same because I'm sure they'll watch this at some point. But I do like to be as supportive as possible. I like to have their back.
Mm.
Even if they've done something wrong,
Yes,
something terrible has happened. Let's figure it out. I'm not going to bark at you straight away because what's that going to resolve? So
nothing.
let's see what we can do to fix the solution if it's fixable. If it's something that's not happened yet, what can we do to
Yep.
fix it? If it's something that has happened and we have to figure out a way around it, let's talk it through, see where the problem went, what can we do to resolve it? Let's get through it together. And the last thing I want is for anyone to, you know, feel really negative about themselves for something that happened if it was their mistake. Let's learn from it, let's grow from it, and let's support each other.
Like we've all made mistakes. I made a million mistakes, especially in the
Yep.
beginning, right? Like
Yep, of
that's
course, of
how
course.
we learn. And
Yep.
I heard something really interesting on another podcast. I think it was Stephen Bartlett, and not that I'm comparing my podcast to his, but I was listening to him, and he was saying like the value in a team member who has actually made mistakes and grown through it.
Yeah.
That team member is now more valuable to us in the business because they've gone through that.
Yeah.
And I was like, what a brilliant way to look at it instead of being like, oh, it's a mistake, like black check mark against you. Like, no,
Yeah.
person now has learned, we've grown together, we've got through it, and now we're in a better place on the other side. So
Absolutely.
it's such a
We
better way
we
to
put
look
so
at it.
many things in place in my time here where I am based on mistakes. We have so many different things that we do now to double check things and how we manage, function sheets or event sheets or working with clients. At the end of the day, you want people, both employees and guests, to be very happy. It's a workplace. It's where you spend a big majority of your time. So you want people to enjoy coming into work.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of it is just learning and growing and saying, okay, how can we change that so that maybe that doesn't happen again? Simple as.
100%. And I always found the happier my team were, the better they performed.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
even
yeah.
from just a strategic, corner, if they're feeling good, they're energized, they're positive, they're like they will go out and sell better, deal with my couples better.
Yeah.
So why would
They
I
get more
not?
excited, you know,
Yeah,
they're more
why
into
would
it.
I
They're
not
more,
facilitate that? Because if you've
yeah.
got someone who's like, oh, I'm kind of tired and this is hard and I don't feel valued, like even if they fake it a bit in front of couples, people feel it.
Yes, yes, agreed, agreed. And it shows. It shows on the outside, it shows to other team members. One of the things that I like is the team knows how excited I get about, if somebody says yes to going ahead. And I was in another office one day and my colleague came running down the hallway and she's like, "We got the booking," and it's that type of, environment that I like, that she was so excited to run to tell me
Tell you.
that we got that couple who said yes, or that event that said yes. And that's the excitement I like to build up in a team, because it is
Absolutely.
exciting. Yeah.
And like we've all seen managers who would respond in of like, yeah, well, get the next one. Yeah, well, you should have got that one, and
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
oh, and you see their kind of fire just getting
Oh yeah.
squashed out, and you're like,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah. Yeah.
like fan the fire, get them more
Yes.
excited.
Yes. Yeah. 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 Because you make them, that makes them want to do it again. What else can we get in? What else can
Like
we
a
fit into the
dopamine hit,
schedule?
right?
Yes. Yes.
Like
Yes.
like
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
helps them
Yeah.
with the dopamine so they feel
Yes.
good and we get more sales and our couples are well taken care of. Like it's a great little circle happening.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
What do you think is something people misunderstand about your role? Maybe people who aren't in weddings or hospitality. What do you think they think about what you do that just is not true?
It's funny that you asked this question, because I just watched I think it was one of your latest ones, with her name's, I'm drawing a blank, but she said that the job is very administrative and people don't understand that, and they think it's sort of walking around and drinking tea and coffee with guests, and eating lunch with our clients, and it's just all fun and exciting, and it is, but it is not all that. It's a myth that this job is not an administrative role. It is very desk based. It
Yeah.
is very paper heavy, computer heavy, sending quotes, proposals, contracts, booking ceremonies, doing event sheets, function sheets. There's a lot of admin work behind it, and you need to be very detailed. And I think people, in my experience, in any job I've ever worked at, always thought, "Oh, I'd love to have your job. That must be
Yeah.
so fun." And it is. There's
Yeah.
definitely a lot of fun elements to
Yeah.
it. That's why we are still doing it. But there's a lot of legwork that goes into it. There's a lot of behind the scenes work that goes into it that I don't think people really understand. So that would probably be, for me, the biggest myth, is that they don't really understand the admin behind what we do.
Yeah, it's so true. And I'm sure you've seen this when new coordinators who perhaps hadn't done the role elsewhere would come in and you're really trying to set them up for success. Like,
Yep.
before you take this job, make sure you know,
Yep.
like, you will be sitting at your desk most days. You will not
Yep.
be swanning about, like,
Nope.
fiddling with some flowers and tying a
Yep.
bow somewhere. Like, that's not how this is.
No,
Like, do not watch J-Lo in the wedding planner. Like,
that is not it.
it's not gonna be
100%
your
not
life.
it. Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Your life is going to be answering a gazillion emails at 10 o'clock at night.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. What's your favorite part of a wedding day? Like, what's that one moment where you go, yeah, love it?
I think one of my favorite parts of the wedding is when the bride or couple are walking down the aisle, because it's starting. That's the moment,
Yeah.
and from there it's all run on timings from that point. So as long as you're on time, you're good to go. But I think it's that moment where, in some circumstances, where you have a bride, she's standing there ready to walk down the aisle with whoever she's walking down with, and you fluffed out her dress, and you just sort of have a moment and you look at her and you think, "Are you ready?" And it, that emotion that she must be feeling and the thoughts going through her head, and then the minute she starts to walk down the aisle, I think, that's it.
Yeah.
It's over to operations now to run the event. It's the moment, it's happening, it's there, she's in. So they're
One of
about
my
to say
favorite moments
yes.
too. Lining
Yeah.
up the processional
Yes.
and And I almost feel like the train has left the station. You like
Yeah.
you can't put the brakes on.
Yes.
Once we open that door and they start walking, like
Yes.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
train
Yeah.
has left the
I think
station,
that's it.
people.
Yeah. It's happening now. There's no turning
Yeah.
back.
No,
You're in.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you
Yeah.
ever had anybody say no? Like, I can't do it.
I've had two circumstances in two different venues in New York. I haven't actually had anything happen here in the UK,
Okay.
surprisingly, knock on wood.
Yeah.
But I had a situation where the day prior the wedding got canceled. I didn't actually find out the nitty-gritty of what was going on. There's a
No.
little bit of chaos leading up. They were staying in the hotel I was working at the time, and the wedding was in the same hotel. So there had been some gossip going around for about a day or two prior, and I kept hearing things, and I thought, what's going on with this wedding? And then day prior, they canceled. So that was disappointing. The poor dad had to come up, and he was just sitting at a table writing checks to
Oh,
all the suppliers. So that
oh,
wasn't a great day for him, but that happened on the day prior. And then I have had a wedding cancel on the day of, which again, I don't know the nitty-gritty details, but I think it was a bit of a case of cold feet from the bride. Whether that was a blessing in disguise, I don't
no,
know.
no.
But I was in the office, and my colleague took the call and said, she's not coming.
Wow.
Luckily, the guests hadn't arrived yet, so it
Okay.
wasn't something that we had to manage in that aspect. But yeah, that only happened twice so far, touch wood, in my career. I hope it doesn't happen anytime soon because it
No,
is really
it's a tough
happy.
one, right? Because you've
Yeah,
worked with them for a year or more, all
yeah,
the planning, all the conversations,
yeah.
and then to just plug pulled. It's a tricky one, right?
Yeah, yeah. And you think, well, what, and you want to say, what's happened?
Yeah,
Everything was
yeah.
going so well. What's happened? But of course, you can't do that. But
No,
you do want to be like, what, is there something we can help with? It's like you
there
kind
is.
of want to chime in, but it's out
Yeah.
of our hands.
When it comes to suppliers and external planners, people coming onto property and working with you, what makes you lose respect for external suppliers?
I think so. We have a list of recommended suppliers, but you're not required to use
Yeah.
them. But they're people who have worked at the venue before several times, and we really trust them. I think for me, it's when there's just a little lack of respect and kindness. We're a supplier technically, so are you. So let's work together. We're not here to make your life difficult by any stretch. So don't make ours difficult. Get back to our emails. We need some information from you prior to you arriving. I know your plate is full, but it's just a simple email. We're just asking for a few bits of information ahead of your arrival to make it as seamless as possible for you to get into the park and know where to go. So just get back to us. And when they don't do that, and then they get a bit aggressive because then they're lost on the day and they don't know where to go, and they find that we're not working with them, and I'm thinking, well, we're here for you, and we're here to try to make it, we're here for the client.
Of
So
course.
we want this couple to really have a fantastic evening. And if you're running late because you didn't open up that email, or you didn't see the directions or the information that we gave you prior, there's nothing we could do there. So that's kind of your fault. So I think it's just a little bit of disrespect, knowing that we're also a supplier trying to make somebody's day as perfect as it can be.
Yeah, what came into my mind was like self-responsibility,
Yes, yes, yes,
like for
yeah,
all of us. Like when is it my responsibility to make sure that I've answered or got the information I need
yeah,
and that I don't just turn up and expect everything to be laid out for me.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
just a little bit of self-responsibility from all of us
yes,
to do our bit,
exactly.
right?
And where we are, because we're obviously the animal reserve, we're not as simple as just pulling up outside of a driveway and unloading.
No.
It's getting into a park. You need to get driven down to the venue to unload. And we try to make it as easy as possible with lots of information, maps, reaching out a week prior. And then sometimes you just don't hear from anyone. Several emails later, and then on the day, they're lost, and it's our fault.
Yeah. Oh no,
Because
that's
they're stressed, and they're feeling worried that they're not going to be on time,
yeah,
and so on and so forth. But we always try to prepare them so that it doesn't happen. So I think
yeah,
it's just that not owning up to
yeah.
their side of it as well.
Is there a moment in your career when you look back and it just makes you laugh out loud? You're like, how was I in that position at that moment doing that thing?
I where I used to work in New York, there was a lot of movie premieres,
Ah, yeah.
but like famous movie
Yeah,
premieres with
big, yeah.
very famous celebrities.
Mm.
And I can look back to two different venues, two different events, and I think I was standing in the middle of the room, and I'm just like, wow, how did I end up here? Like, wow, this
Can
is
you do some name dropping? Who were you looking at?
Pierce Brosnan, who's a personal favorite.
Ah,
Um, we did the Mamma Mia movie premiere. So they were all there. And the other one was, oh gosh, what was the name of the movie? But it was Harrison Ford, Diane Keaton.
ah,
So being there in that room with all these people, and I was just like, this is like a pinch me moment. This
yeah.
is incredible. This is like, how did I get involved in this? And it was things like that that made being in the events industry really exciting and just, yeah, sort of a pinch me moment going, how did I get into this? Like, how lucky do I feel being in this? So those are the moments that
Love that.
even when you have the bad day, you look back and think, but look what else I've done. Look what other
Yeah.
things I've done. Look what can still come my way for various activities.
Is there a trend that you would like to lose from the industry? Is there something you're just seeing and you're like, I'm over this now?
Oh gosh. Well, it still happens, but not very often. I think a bouquet toss
Okay.
needs to go. It's
Okay.
very old fashioned. It used to be you chuck the bouquet and whoever gets it is the next to get married, and
But now I just see girls going, I don't want to catch it. I don't want to get
nobody
married.
wants it. There's nowhere to throw it
It's
anymore.
so awkward because then
It's very rare that we see it, but we still
Mm,
see it on occasion. And I think,
okay.
gosh, when's that actually going to go? Because that's not something we need to see anymore. That
Love
and
it.
the garter. You know when they used to do the garter off
Oh,
the leg? I think I
yeah.
know it's definitely an American tradition, although I have seen it over
Yeah.
here.
Mm.
I think those two things are
Oh
biggest
my God.
no-no.
I love it. And Steph, we'll put all the links in the show notes, but where's the best place for people to connect with you if they want to carry on the conversation or they have a question or where should they find you?
Yeah, well, our Instagram account is Portland Weddings, so that's managed by myself and another member of my
Great.
team. So we'll certainly see anything there if you want to send a request. And that's the best place to reach us.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks, Kelly. It's been nice to chat.